Hello, welcome back to the Games Kingdom, and today we are here looking at SOLACE. SOLACE is a new game that's going to be coming to Kickstarter in 2024 from Lunar Oak Studios, and this game is a sort of sci-fi setting, maybe a sort of cyberpunk type thing, but certainly sci-fi. It is co-op. It is mission based, although you can play either standalone games and or a campaign game. Now this particular sort of preview copy that I've been sent to sort of look at and do this sort of overview video on only has the first mission in it from the campaign, so everything else will be revealed once the Kickstarter goes live. And if you want to sort of learn more and hear when that is going to happen, then if you go over to the Lunar Oak Studio website, you can see all of their other games on there as well that they have sorted out and produced currently. But you will also see this, and this is the SOLACE page. So as you can see, as it says here, 1 to 5 players, sci-fi original setting game, co-op mission based, 30 to 60 minutes. You can sign up and you will get notified and receive special content once the campaign starts or is about to start on Kickstarter. So it is set in a world of immortals in which players are agents of a futuristic SWAT team called FTO, and you have to accomplish increasingly dangerous missions that could change the balance of the world. So how do we play SOLACE? Well, SOLACE is played through a set number of rounds. That round number could sort of change depending on what you do, how you do it, what cards you draw out, whether your character or characters survive, whether you achieve your mission goal. You collect the cards or card that you need to sort of find in the palace, which is here, this sort of tower block formation of 5 levels, and your character or characters will start level 1. I think there is one of the characters that can potentially start on the top level and then obviously work their way down, but most of the time you're going to be starting on level 1 as you do, and you'll be working your way up. So for me, when I first sort of read through this and saw this, it gave me a bit of a feel of the sort of Judge Dredd film that came out a few years ago with Carl Urban playing the lead character of Judge Dredd and his sort of rookie police sort of sidekick, for want of a better name or phrase, when they were inside the tower block and they were trying to apprehend the bad guys. So you are in the tower block and you will be trying to find and sort of pick up certain cards and then make your way out. Now, I've played this a couple of times. I failed once and succeeded once. Basically, you need to sort of find the data card and then get yourself back out again. But all the while, obviously, other things are going to be thrown at you and things will sort of happen, and you'll need to sort of do certain actions to avoid, obviously, failing in your mission to find the card or be attacked. But also you've got this sort of timer deck down here which you need to keep an eye on, because if this timer deck runs out at any point, then you lose the game. And that's how I lost one of the games. As I say, I managed to win the other game, so a 50% success rate, not too bad for a new game like this. And yeah, it took me about I suppose about 40-45 minutes the first time, and a little bit less on the second time when I sort of completed the mission. But how does the game play? Well, you're going to start with a hand of sort of 6, what I would say are sort of basic sort of action cards, which if you succeed your mission and you get a positive points total, you can swap out one of your basic hand of cards for these sort of purple colour ones, which are obviously upgraded cards, and you sort of will get one of those cards. Now, this is a game for 1 to 5 players, but in this particular sort of demo pack, I only have 4, as far as I can tell, 4 characters. So I played with Tora for both of the games, but we also have Sybil, Shiro and Arya. So you get a complete set of decks and cards and things for each of those characters. You've got spare palace cards, so you only use a certain amount of these. I will show you some of these in a little bit, but because you only are using a certain amount, and certainly a lot less when you're playing as solo, the replayability on this I think is going to be quite extensive, because there's a lot of different card combos. I think there's about 41 cards of the palace cards, but because you're only putting out 18 of them as a solo game, then obviously you're only looking at sort of just over, you know, a third of what the deck is going to be as a potential possibility. So the endless combinations, you know, there must be in the thousands of different combinations that you can do these, because they're all random apart from the 2 cards that are set on certain levels, which is the alarm card and the data card. The rest of them are basically all random. You shuffle the deck, you deal out a certain amount for each level depending on which level it is, and then you shuffle in one of those 2 cards on specific level and another one on another level, and then away you go. You have up to 2 actions per phase, so you get to do your 2 actions, and you do those 2 actions by selecting 2 cards. And this is your little game sort of character board here, and they're all the same size, so as you can see they are exactly the same size. So this is what I like about this game in particular, is the card size, because these are sort of like almost like your standard playing card size, so it allows you to do some decent artwork. You know, the artwork on them is clear. Every symbol, you can see what it is just by looking at it. The cards, as I say, are nice feel in your hand, because they have that sort of playing card feel and size to them. And yeah, I would say one of the things Lunar Oak potentially should look at is offering a pack of sleeves, or enough sleeves to do all of the cards that they supply with whatever pledge levels they're going to put out for this. If it's going to be 1 pledge level, or whether there's going to be multiples depending on what's going to come out. You know, is there going to be some stretch goals? Are there going to be a little expansion here or there? Things that you can add on. So I would say this game is ideal for sleeving, just to keep them nice and clean, because you will handle these cards a lot, because obviously it is what it is. It's a card game. So for me, if I was purchasing this, I would certainly want to sleeve it, just to keep them nice and pristine, stop, you know, grubby fingers, fingerprints, greasy hands, all that sort of stuff, which I'm prone to do. So I sleeve everything like this. I just think it's just nice, and it makes them easier to shuffle and everything as well. So yeah, so you play your cards, and you can play them to both to the left, both to the right, or you can do one of each. And you basically select what action you want to do, and you use your main board card to sort of cover the action that you don't want to do. So that will then show not only you, but the other players, if you're playing as a multiplayer game in the campaign, it will show them what your actions, what you've selected. And when you play as a multiplayer, you don't necessarily have to go round in a clockwise or anti-clockwise order. You can pick the order of how your players play, but in between each player's actions or action, then the game will take an action against you, for want of a better sort of terminology. So it gets a go in between each player's turn. So if you're playing solo, you'll go, it will go, you go, and then if you're playing 3 or 4 players, you'll do the same. You'll get your turn, the game will go, somebody else will have a go, and then it will go round until it's the end of everybody's go, and then you'll restart and you'll do your next turn if the game is going to continue, if you haven't completed it or you haven't failed. So as I said, you've got your character, and my character started on level 1, and basically you use your actions, and we'll show you what these symbols are in a little bit when we run through the rule book. But each of these cards, as you can see, has symbols on them. They also have the same things on each of the backs. Now that particular symbol that you can see here, that is the movement symbol. So if you play this, you would just take a 1 movement action. But you do have a card, or cards. Some of them have 2, and then have different actions on the other side. So this obviously is doing some damage. This is the hacking symbol, and we'll run through, as I say, all of the other symbols. And then you've also got some lightning bolt symbols, which is an electrical attack. So as I said, you know, there's quite a lot you can do as you're going through the game, and you're trying to sort of complete your mission, as I say, either as a one-off game or as part of the campaign. So you sort of work your way in and up and through the palace stroke tower, trying to find the card or cards that you need, and then you're trying to escape. And the way you escape is you come back down to level 1, you use a movement action, and as long as you've got the required mission card and you get out of the building alive and nobody else has died and the timer hasn't run out, you win. But it's not as simple as that, because there are sort of things going on as you go through the building and up and down the levels, because obviously you're going to go up levels to try and find these mission cards, and as I say, it's increasingly more dangerous. So, you know, whilst this one is not overly taxing, this is to sort of give you the flavour of the game, and I'm pretty certain that by the time you get to the end of the campaign, you know, you're going to need to have improved your characters quite substantially with these sort of purple upgrade cards to be able to survive and complete some, if not all, of these missions and complete the campaign. But that obviously will all be revealed in the Kickstarter. So you know, go across to Lunar Oak Studio's website, sign up for the sort of kick-off date. You'll get an email to say it's launching, and as I said, you will also receive some special content. I don't know if there's going to be early backer bonuses, but once you've signed up, you'll get more information nearer the time. The box isn't huge, so if it comes in this size of a box as a complete game, again, another plus point, because this is just something that you could potentially keep in the car, you know, or at work or school, whatever, and break it out when you've got half an hour to play a game, friends, colleagues, you know, that sort of thing. It's about an A5 piece of paper size, so again, not a huge sort of footprint on the box. You know, you've got quite a few cards here, and they all fitted in there nicely, and they didn't even take up you know, half of the box. If the rule book is done as an A5 thing as well, obviously at the minute it's printed out on some standard A4 paper and then just sort of folded up, but I think that would look quite nice as an A5 rule book as well, with some nice clear diagrams and some examples of how the turns work, how the actions work and everything else, because as you'll see in here, this is just for you to get and for me to get an overview of how the game itself sort of pans out. So let's have a quick look. So they've given me a sort of checklist, as it were, so you know, just to make sure that you get everything and you can actually play the game, which I did. And then you've got a little bit more on page 2 there, and the overview says it can be played in 2 main ways: playing a campaign game, which is the recommended way to play the game, or as a single standalone game. A campaign is divided into multiple raids or missions connected to each other, with the possibility of improving your character between one mission and another. And in this demo, there's only the first mission of the campaign, so it's not giving out too many spoilers. but this will give, just like it has me, it'll give you a flavour of how the game works, what it's going to look like, and then obviously this isn't potentially going to be sort of finished article, but again it will just give you that sort of quick flavour of what that game is and if it's going to be something that you're interested in. So again, on page 3 it just tells you how to lay out the sort of game area. Another thing that might be useful if they want to look at it is maybe some sort of little sort of if there's not going to be any deviation in the palace setup, and it's always going to be like that, maybe an option of a neoprene mat or some sort of fold up mat that you can break out and has the card spaces. That would be a nice little touch, or an add-on that they could potentially think about doing. But again, if you do that, that sort of maybe increases the box size or whatever, unless you can fold something up, you know, nice and sort of small. You know, you can get some nice sort of decent sort of paper stuff printed these days. So again, you know, you might want to sort of have a look at that and see what happens on the campaign itself. So it tells you how to set everything up, and then it gets into the actual sort of gameplay. Now there's 4 phases in each sort of turn, as it were. And there are the planning phase, the agent action phase, the palace phase, and the final phase. Now the planning phase is where you pick 2 of your hand of cards to say these are the actions I want to take. So as I said, you place them either left, right, or one of each. You don't have to pick 2, you can pick 1, you can do none. It just depends on where you're at the time, what's happening. Are you playing alone? Are you playing with other people? Are your actions not going to do anything? And if so, you could sort of sit that turn out and maybe do nothing. And then, you know, eventually you'll get cards back. So you, as I say, you will choose where you're going to put your cards, what your actions are going to be. Then you'll choose the turn order for, say, the first player. And then, as I said, it will alternate between you and the game. So you will, if you're acting first, you will choose the order of your actions as well. So you don't necessarily have to do them left and right. You can do them differently each time. But what you must do is, for example, if you've picked this card with the 2 actions and the 2 sort of attack symbols, you must do, if you're choosing the action where you're moving, you can't move, then attack, then move again. You've got to do both of those symbols. So you would, on here, you would move twice before potentially or doing an attack if you had that symbol. So if your 2 cards, sorry, were like that, either side, you'd have the card here with the 2 movement symbols and one with the 2 attack symbols. Then you could do either or action, but you couldn't split them. So you couldn't do an attack, then move, then do another attack, and vice versa. So once you've done that, it's then over to the game, and then you'll choose your order of how you do things. Sometimes a card will be played where things will trigger in the game and you might be interrupted. So that will happen, and then you'll go back to doing your movement or your action or whatever. But that will tell you on a particular card if an interrupt action has been sort of triggered. So you'll see from the symbols where that sort of thing can crop up in the game. And then basically you'll do your agent action phase, and then it will come on to the palace phase, and then the palace phase will happen depending on what the card tells you to do. So again, you can see here it shows you an example of a card, of a particular card in the game, the coil whiner. So it could be an enemy, a hostage, a trap. It will tell you what sort of type it is, whether it's human or a machine or whatever, what faction it belongs to. It could be a cooperative, it could be a rebel, it could be part of the FTO team. It could have an action time symbol, and if it does, that then determines what happens at that point. Then it goes through the actions, and there could be one or more of these actions. So on here you can see actions 5, 6 and 7, so they will happen in that order. And then at the bottom it shows how the enemy can be destroyed. So on this particular enemy here, it will take either a single electric attack or 3 of the attack symbols on the card. So as you can see on this particular card that I could have played, it has 2 attack symbols, so that wouldn't necessarily get rid of this particular enemy. But if I'd have played this card with the electric symbol on and chosen that side as one of my potential 2 actions, I could use that, and that would take away this in one go. So again, it just depends on what actions you choose, what cards come out, as to whether or not you're going to get rid of these things straight away, or whether it's going to take you more than one turn. You might have played 2 cards with attack symbols on. So here you can see you've got one with 1 and one with 2, and if you'd chosen both of those, then you could have taken both of those as your actions, and that would have taken out those 3 wound symbols there, and again the coil winder would have been destroyed and removed. So as I say, it just literally depends on what actions you and all your compatriots, if you're playing as a campaign game with other people, what you've chosen, what you've taken, how things come out. And this is why sometimes you're not going to succeed in your games. You might fail by running out of time, you might fail by being destroyed yourself. So yeah, it's a nice game because there's a lot of variables that just out of the 2 games that I've played, things have come up and you think, oh, I wish I'd have played this card, or I wish I'd have not played that card, you know, at this point, and saved it for later and whatever. But you know, that's how some of these choices pan out, and you never know what's going to come out, because obviously all of the levels start off hidden, and you don't know which cards have been put into those decks from all of those available at the starting deck. So as I say, there's only 18 in that set of columns out of a total of 41 cards. So there's a lot of different cards that you think, oh, this card is probably here, maybe there, but they're not. They could just be anywhere. There's no set levels for these things to be on. So you know, the same card could be on level 1 on one game and level 5 the next game, and it's just that sort of luck of the draw and things. But that's how things are. You never know what's going to happen. So that's your palace card and your palace actions. And then the final phase, it depends whether or not this card is on its silent side, or if the alert has gone off. So depending on what happens, you will check if the alarm is not active. You will start from the top floor and go down. You will reveal the top card on each floor with at least 1 agent on it. So if you're only playing solo, that's only going to be 1 card being revealed. But if you've got multiple players playing, you know, you could have somebody on every floor. Every floor is going to get a card revealed, and you place the card on the top of the time deck in the discard pile. So you reveal the card on the first floor and place it on the discard pile of the time deck. Now if the alarm has been triggered and it's on the alert side, again you start at the top going down and you reveal the top card of each floor. You place the reinforcement card on top of the discard pile in the palace on the floor indicated by the reinforcement card. And then if that card pile of discards is empty, take the card from the top of the time deck and place the card on the top of the time deck of the discard pile. And if you can't do this step because the time deck has been exhausted, the game is lost. And that's what happened to me on my first game. I sort of ran out of time, and you know, that just signals that you failed in your mission. Now sometimes you will draw a card or something will happen and it will tell you to read a cutscene to progress in the story. Now the cutscenes will come in, well, they certainly came in this little booklet for me. Maybe there might be a bigger one or a sort of thicker booklet in the final version, because obviously if it's a campaign, it's probably going to need a lot more. And there's, you know, it's not a thin booklet by any means, and this is just for the demo game, the sort of first game of many. So you will then, they are optional and they're only related to the campaign mode. So in this demo there are 3 little cutscenes to read, and the trigger point is shown on a trigger card, so you just sort of so you don't miss them. You can keep this manual open on the table, and then when that's triggered you go to the manual and you read it out. So, you know, when you reveal a 3rd hostage, for example, or find the Data 1 card, you have to jump to the corresponding mission manual page, read the cutscene, and then you return to the game. So as you can see here, they've done a nice little job. You know, some nice artwork in here, you know, sort of very thematic, you know, sort of very Blade Runner-esque, that sort of scene there. And then you've got your stories, you know, more scenes here, you know, the top of the building exploding, bit sort of, again, sort of, another film sort of like that was the original Die Hard, when the top of the Nakatomi building exploded. So you've got your story things here. You've got, you know, 4 player characters there shown. You've got more of the story. You know, you've got mission 1, data recovery. So this is the one that you play through on this sort of demo. And then you just read. So it's, there you go, cutscene M1, and then you've got M2, and then if the data's recovered, you just sort of carry on, and it will tell you where to go depending on which card has been sort of triggered, and then, you know, you'll get to mission complete, hopefully, and you'll still be alive. And if you do that, you've won the game. So winning the mission. So to complete the demo mission, what you had to do was own the Data 01 card. So this is the card that you had to own and find, and that was on level 3. And then exit the palace. So you have to find that and then exit. So as I said earlier, to do that you just go back down to the 1st floor, spend a movement point, and then you remove your character from the game area. And then to sort of progress your character, as I said earlier, you can get those sort of purple upgraded cards, these ones here, which have got sort of more extensive symbols on there and some extra symbols on some of the cards. So as they're upgraded, your actions, you'll be able to do more things as you pick them. So you'll, you know, some of them have got more than one action, and some of them 2 or 3. So you can work out what your points are, and if your points are positive, you get an upgrade card. And you fail the mission, or this particular sort of starting mission, if the time runs out, or if you have to take a card from the time deck and that card deck is empty. If the players decide to leave the palace before you own the mission card, and if a player character's card is eliminated after being placed in the palace. So once you're up and running and you're sort of moving through the levels and you've started to play the game, if your character is then eliminated, that is the end of the game. So obviously you just play one character. If he or she dies or is eliminated, that is it, and you have to sort of reset and try again, which is what I did, and thankfully was successful on my 2nd go. So as I say, this is Solace. Thank you to Lunar Oak Studios for sending me this. I've enjoyed my brief sort of playthroughs of this particular game. I've only played with the 1 character, so I might try 1 or all of the other 3 just to see how they differ and sort of get a flavour of those. As I say, there is a game for, it says 1 to 5, but there are only 4 characters here, so maybe the 5th one might be a sort of stretch goal or an add-on. As I say, won't know sort of full details until the Kickstarter goes live. But as I say, if you sign up on the website at Lunar Oak Studios, you'll be able to do that, and you can, as I say, check out all of their other content and games on there, and it's got a bit about the company and everything else on there as well. But for my brief playthroughs of this, I'm going to say that it's got the Games Kingdom seal of approval, the royal seal of approval there. As I say, just based on this quick sort of couple of demo games that I've played, I think this is going to be a lovely little game that, as I say, you can fill in or play through the whole campaign. You know, you can use it at the beginning of a night while you're waiting for people to turn up. For your longer games, you can break this out and have a quick game. You can do the similar thing at the end of the night if you want to do a fill-in. If your main game is finished a bit early and you just want to sort of break something out for half an hour, again, you can do this. You can do it at work, you could do it at schools, you can do it on the train. You know, it's not a huge sort of area that you need to set out. As long as you clearly define which bits are which, you know, you could play this pretty much anywhere that's got a table service. As I say, the box size, if it's this size as a completed thing, is not going to be massive, so you can just leave it in the car. And it's not going to take up a lot of shelf space, so hopefully it's going to be a quite reasonable priced game, and we'll see what happens with the rest of the missions and the campaigns and what else Lunar Oak decides is going to be in the world of Solace. So until we see what that is, and we get to do another one of these, maybe with a full game of this, it's bye for now.